Hey, what's happening? What's happening? Let me know if you can hear me because I got my microphone kind of set away. What up? What up? What up? Let me know if you can hear me. We good? You can hear me? What up, Adrian? Nicole, what's happening? Told you I may come. I thought I was gonna come much earlier, but I had got busy, man. I actually went out in the field. I'm on my scruff game right now, man. It's grind mode for me. I'm actually just got through doing some letters and sending out some letters and some real estate letters to homeowners. You know, pretty much trying to get them to sell their house and whatnot. So I thought I was gonna come on earlier, but Saturn, that's what it's about, man. Saturn. Today is Saturday, the day of Saturn. It always amazes me how how the world may not really rock with astrology, so they say. But the days are, and I don't mean you have to believe in it, but it just amazes me how even mainstream government, in the sense, I remember Michelle Obama had some dude doing some type of rap about astronomy, and it was like, no, not astrology and whatnot. And, you know, it's like the professionals of the world can never admit to the validation of astrology, but astronomy as a science. But the days are Saturday and, you know, Monday, Moon Day, and Sunday, the day of the sun. It's just obvious. And of course, I guess the obvious argument will be, well, we're just adopting pagan cultures or after the Roman and the Greek. Well, shit, the law in the United States is definitely based off of Rome. Like when you go start studying law, it's all Latin, Roman. You know, this whole thing is just another Roman civilization in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So it just baffles me with that. But let's talk about, let's get the thumbs up for the little few that's in here. Let's get the thumbs up real fast so we can alert other family members that we own real fast. I want to help you out if I can real fast. Really deal with this guy right here, Saturn, the gatekeeper, the boogeyman. The guy that, you know, the infamous Saturn return when you're 28, 29, 30 years old on average. The planet of no limitations, fear, karma, restriction, a very cold energy. This is symbolically styled as Satan. You can see the word Saturn, Satan, because everywhere the sun of God, everywhere the sun is exalted, such as the sun in Aries, which starts the spring, Saturn's energy in Aries has been denoted as a no-no. When we look at the dominions of Saturn, Capricorn, that's the first month and first day of winter, December 22nd. It's cold out for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. The cold has a domain or dominion of Saturn. When the sun gets here, it's like, shit, the sun is dying because the sun is at its absolute lowest, what appears to be at its lowest declination, its lowest angle in the sky. If you start paying attention right now, like you would notice that in the month of August at 12 o'clock, the sun is this high. Next month, you're going to see that it's slightly lower. And since we're in the summertime, it's going to be slightly lower to the right. And every day what's happening is you will see, based off your observation, that the sunrise is slowly about to start coming up more to the right each day. And then at noon, you're going to see it at a certain spot. It's not going to be as high as it is from March the 22nd up to like June 21st. Like that window right there You know what I mean? It's not going to be as high as it was. And so it starts to decline after, the summer solstice, to be honest with you, June 22nd. So the first day of winter is the dominion of Capricorn. So it's like the sun doesn't do well there. Where each planet also has a second zodiac sign that is kind of like its second home in a sense. So for Saturn, it loves to be in Libra as well. When the sun gets to Libra, that's the fall equinox. That's what, September 22nd, 23rd, up in that area. Nature starts to regress. The first day of fall, the trees and the leaves and stuff starts to regress. So when Saturn rules Libra, the fall, and winter, Capricorn, these two positions of the year where the sun is there, it's like, ooh, no, nature is starting to regress and it's cold. So it's like Saturn has dominion over these areas of coldness. And that's one of its energies, is cold. You see what I'm saying? So this is the classic mythology of Satan in the son of God. You see what I'm saying? And it's vice versa. Where the suns do well, when the sun do well at, Saturn's position there has been noted to, not necessarily have a strong effect, which would be Cancer and Aries. Okay. And so Saturn is the part of our psychology that represents success, hard work, dedication, repetition. It's that grind. Also can represent your father, okay? Father figures. And so this is authority, this is government, but my favorite keyword is dealing with that success and that hard work, that repetition. You know what I mean? And so I also think that no matter what, I think at a point in our evolution as we grow, especially as we become older, which is a key word for Saturn, Saturn deals with that's a good question, Grand Madam. I'm gonna answer that. Saturn deals with old age. I think the position of Saturn, because Saturn rules naturally careers and stuff, I think the position of Saturn where it's at some point in time, and I know this, you're going to have to deal with that planet's location and possibly see that sign that it's in that house that is in, particularly the house that is in, and that may definitely give you some type of insight. It will give you insight of where you need to really start applying career-like goals towards that area. So I got Saturn in the second house, for example. My career line is Pisces. My Pisces is mystical, physical. I'm a mystical, spiritual rather. So what I do, trips to Sedona, meditations, astrology, mystical sciences, things of that nature. That's what my chart suggests. I do that. But I was born with Saturn in the second. So then I noticed at 40, there was a major shift of consciousness that dealt with, it's time to really focus on finances and learning what that science is all about. And I was like, well, this is very interesting because I got Saturn here and it just became hella important for me. So I'm like, this is interesting. I wonder wherever Saturn is located, specifically the house that is in, you're going to have to deal with that area of your life and may have to apply it to help you advance in your career. It may not be your career per se, but it is something that you're absolutely going to have to study and master. And the truth of the matter is, when you understand the order of the planets, what up, Coleco? You have to get to Saturn before you get to Uranus and Neptune, which are more of the loftier, unorthodox ways of thinking that deals with spirituality, meditation, and intuition, and all those type of things. You really are supposed to become successful first on the ground level, because if you're not going to live that life of a hermit and walk that walk of like the fool in the tarot deck, where you're going to be this mystical wanderer and you're okay with that, Let's just say like Yogananda, the great Indian saint, Paramahamsa Yogananda. What up, Mike? What up, Bruce? Paramahamsa Yogananda comes from India, come to America, don't have no money to set up what now is known as the Self-Realization Fellowship. But he's a mystic. He's walking that mystical path. People will, allow him to go to universities to teach. People will say, come stay in my house, Guru, come stay in my house. You have those kind of people in the world, the Mother Teresa's of the world, that are really spiritual saints, and people will gravitate towards them and take care of them, and you will build a fellowship from scratch. That's one hell, like that's what that energy looks like. If you in the world and you working, you got a 9 to 5, majority of the time we don't like the 9 to 5. You may be struggling financially, you got relationships, you got kids, you got other things that require your time, and you're dabbling in spirituality and these loftier concepts, and you really don't have the time to, your work life and physical life isn't a nice reflection of your spiritual ambition. Enough frustration kicks in, and a lack of proper integration of the spiritual knowledge will in return render you crazy, frustrated, depressed, just a little off-center, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And so when you look at the zodiac wheel, that zodiac wheel is literally the 12 laws of the universe. And this is what school was patterned off of. We start with the first grade and we end at the 12th grade. And then when we finish with the 12th grade, we go to the universe. And when we finish 12th grade, we go to the university. But once you get the 12 zodiacal science, now you're able to study universal law. That's the whole premise of school. Do these things in this order, pull out a 12-inch gauge, a ruler, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 being mystical, spiritual, time to get away off to the mountaintop. The second thing in the zodiac, number 2, is money. Taurus, money and values. You have to get that under wrap before you start messing around with the 9th grade when you become a freshman. The 9th grade is Sagittarius, philosophy, world religion, different cultures. You can study these things now at the 9th grade, but on the 2nd grade level, you're supposed to have a firm understanding about your financial well-being. Absolutely firm. Okay? It's going to become necessary. All right. I'm going to start off before I answer the question about Saturn. I want to answer Graham Madam's question because they put a very good question in here. She said, hello, everyone. In Western astrology, my Saturn is in Scorpio. But in Vedic astrology, which is Eastern astrology, Saturn is in Libra. How do I reconcile that? Now, I've answered this before, but I love this. I love this conversation here because it deals with 2 different systems. Hold on one second. Y'all. All right. And so it deals with a difference of system. One system, Western astrology, say, hey, when you were born, Saturn was here in Scorpio. Vedic says, no. Saturn was in Libra, a sign back. So then the question becomes, okay, which one is it? So what Vedic astrology is doing, they're saying, hey, when you look at Saturn, don't you see the Libra constellation right here? And to the left is Scorpio right there. So Saturn is not in Scorpio like Western is telling you. Saturn, when you look at it, is right here. Okay? So that's the same as right now where we're in Leo season, but they saying, no, we're not in Leo. The sun looks like it's in front of Cancer. So Vedic is using what appears to be real by the naked eye. Fine. There's 2 issues I have with that. One, you can't believe what you see with the naked eye. I did the cosmic illusion years ago on a webinar. Because the sun looked like it rise and it looked like it set. Is that what's happening? If the sun is off in space and the earth is traveling around the sun, how can the sun rise above your head and then set? It's an optical illusion. You can't believe what you see with the naked eye. The moon. Tonight in the western sky, when the sun is setting, you're only going to see a silver crescent, the right side of the moon. You won't be able to see the left side of the moon. So is the left side of the moon totally gone, or is it there and it's the shadow thing that's taking place that's giving the illusion that the left side of the moon is not there? And we know it's that's what it is. So can you believe what you see with the naked eye? You cannot. This whole thing is the cosmic illusion. Okay? So what's happening is, since what's producing the illusion? The tilt orientation of the earth. The earth is tilted at a certain angle. We're said to be traveling at 1,037 1/3 miles per second. And we don't even feel the spin orientation. And it is actually the spin orientation that is giving the illusion that the sun comes up in the east, and now a couple hours later, the sun is in the south. A couple hours later, the sun is in the west, and then it sets. Right? It's the way we're spinning. We're spinning that's giving the illusion, but we don't feel the motion, and it looked like the external object, the sun, is actually doing the moving when it's us that's doing the moving. So you cannot believe what you see with the naked eye. That's not enough to give me. It's just not enough. It's not a strong premise, because it can easily be disproved just like that. The second thing is this. I know without a shadow of a doubt, there's something called secondary progressions. That is very, very, very real. Secondary progressions pretty much state that, like, let's just say today is your birthday, and let's just say the sun is at 6 degrees Leo. On your first birthday, when you turn 1 year old, your progressed sun says, okay, even though I'm at 6 degrees, I'm going to progress 1 degree, and I'm going to pretty much go up 1 day. So every year of your physical life, the sun moves up 1 degree in your progress chart. All other 360 degrees, your ascendant and everything is matching it too. It's doing a rotation. It's moving. The moon is progressing 13 degrees a year. Okay. And so there's some planetary progression with planets. And I know for a fact, and I've done it on this channel here, if you got a progressed planet here and Mars in the sky is here, it's the same as if it's your natal chart, because your progressed chart mirrors the soul evolution of the human being. So you're no longer a baby anymore. You're growing. So although you are who you are at the core, your natal chart is what it is. There's another chart that says, okay, I'm going to progress and grow with you and move with you. Okay? Very real. So that means even if we go back a sign, Saturn and Libra in Vedic astrology, you live long enough, okay? Not with Saturn, because the laws of progression are different, but when you live long enough, you progress into Scorpio. You progress back to the sign that you said you were. This is a fact by progression. So I don't rock with the Eastern aspect of it, because it's like saying Jew is a Taurus. It's fuck no. He's a Gemini all day. You know, I'm so late in Aquarius that I'll still be in Aquarius. And see, that's the thing too. See, what's the difference between the two? Because if you're late in the zodiac sign, if any planet is late in the zodiac sign, it can come back when you convert it over to Vedic. You're pretty much subtracting about 23 degrees. So that means if you got anything at 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees of any sign, if you go to the Vedic system, it's still going to be in that sign, because there's a 23 degree difference between the planets' locations. So that's how you know the discrepancy is the 23 degree tilt of the Earth. And then you would get a grand sign called Michael Jordan, who wears number 23. Okay. So you always got to get a human sign to correspond with the astronomical sciences of reality. Okay, somebody's gonna come and embody this shit. It'd be 50 Cent. But 50 Cent is born like July the 9th, and that's all about, the sun being about 13 degrees Cancer, a little bit more than that. That's Sirius. Sirius has this rotation with Sirius A and B where they switch every 50 years. That'd be 50 Cent. It'd be Kevin Hart, from Philadelphia, born the same time as, very close to, July 4th, Independence Day. A heart is something that is synonymous with love. Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love. So Kevin Hart, whose birthday is very close, it's like July 6th, very close to the grand alignment of what takes place. He's the walking physical manifestation of something great. You see what I'm saying? We will always walk it out. Unbeknownst to us, we just always walk it out. All right. But you reconcile the two. I'm going to tell you, it's Western, because Western understands the illusion, and Vedic is going to have to tell us, wait a minute, this is a 23-degree tilt. It is a difference between the two systems of 23 degrees. And even right now, there's 23 people in the chat. Like it's things like that. But it's they got to reconcile that. The reason why both can be right is because notice in Vedic and Western, we're not arguing about the house, because the house is just a portion. It's a direction in the sky. We're just arguing about what sign is in, but the location in the sky at 5 o'clock in the evening is still the Western location in the sky. So we're just saying, hey, we say it's Scorpio. No, we say it's Libra. So we're not arguing about the physical location. We're arguing about what constellation does the planet appear in front of, not the direction. So therefore, the house will always remain the same between the two systems, which means the direction remains the same. But if we're dealing with Saturn and we're dealing with its definitions, restriction and karma and things of that nature, then you're going to have the same, pretty much a similar experience, right? Because it's Saturn's energy that we're ultimately looking at anyway. So both of them, when you look at planets, signs, and houses, we only disagree on the sign, but the planet in the house is the same. That's 2/3. So that's what, 66%. So 2/3 of the equation is the same. Therefore, there's a good chance we're going to have the same definition. You see what I'm saying? But I would definitely reconcile it by I lean more towards Western, because I understand what I just explained. Okay. All right. All right. So let's look at some Saturn in the first, self-responsibilities, could also be a delay in getting started, a late starter. The first is all about, let's go. I call it the first house. It's the house of action. That's what starts everything. But it could be a little bit more, reserved or held back and whatnot, or late to the party, late to get started. The first house is more of a fiery house, and it needs to go. You know what I mean? But it's definitely self-responsibility. Study long, study wrong. And so don't study too long. Make the move. Don't be lethargic when Saturn's in the first. And that's wherever it is. But take your time, do it right is the key with that one. Let me see something. Saturn 15 degrees Cap, right? So Saturn and Cap in the second house, you're gonna have to deal with money. You at some point in time, you're going to have to deal with, especially it being at home, its energy is stronger. So if Saturn is success, Capricorn is sign is success, and the second house is finances and values, then you're going to have to accumulate that, because Saturn to a degree can represent losses and hardships, but it's about consolidation. And so consolidation ain't a loss, it's a buildup. Everything comes together. So you have to work hard when it comes to your finances and being very responsible. Saturn in the second could have a tendency of being, and should have a tendency of being, very conservative when it comes to finances, provided that it's not some other things going on. Because I'm not necessarily conservative, because I got Jupiter and Taurus. That's more very optimistic. But I got Saturn in the second that says, oh, hold on, you got to know when to do that and whatnot. But you're definitely going to have to master finances with Saturn in the second house. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. In fact, this is one of those things when you went to school, even though if you would have picked a different major, your minor absolutely should be in accounting and finance, because you have to work that financial muscle when Saturn's in the second house. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You master Saturn, you beat the devil. You master Satan, you beat the devil, and you become the son of God. You become very victorious when you unlock that Saturn energy. All right. Yep. Chronos, Father Time, you know. Libra and Cancer, Magneto. So I wonder if your sun squares, because Libra and Cancer square. So if your sun squares Saturn, that's definitely Magneto's probably, that's sounding like a parental issue, especially since Saturn's in Cancer. Cancer, it don't belong there. Cancer is a parent, usually mommy, but Saturn is father. But so this could be a both way thing, because mom could be acting like the daddy figure, but I'm gonna say probably more father because your son's involved. So if that's a Saturn square sun, I would ask you to grade your relationship with your father figure. Even if you don't know him, how does that make you feel? And really get to some truth here, because this stuff is like dominoes, man. You know, it can have an effect on an entirely different area of your life. You know what I mean? So say, for example, Saturn, the sign Capricorn is on your second house, which we would say, since Saturn rules Capricorn, Saturn is the ruler of your finances. But in your chart, Saturn's in Cancer and it's squaring your sun, so it's an issue with the father. So if you have an internal issue with your father, that blockage of energy very well could easily turn into a blockage of your financial flow, because Saturn for you is your financial ruler, and Saturn's also father, but it's clogging that artery. That flow is being clogged by the father figure. So we need to clean that pipeline. And damn it, I forgot to get some Drano. I need to clean one of these pipelines. You got to tell me where it is, because I'm not pulling up the chart. I'm just going based off what people tell me in the chat. All right. Yeah. So King V, I wonder if you may be around that 77 area. If you ain't around 77, then it's probably what, 12 more years. If you ain't 77, I bet you close to 89 in the birthday. Well, I can't say that because I got Leo in right there. So Saturn will have to be right there. But Jupiter is a 12-year interval. So Saturn in the fifth, man. Saturn in the fifth is kind of, this is the responsible parent. You want to make sure that you don't restrict the kids. You want to be, Saturn is an excellent teacher. So you want to make sure that you really want to make sure you're setting your children up for success, and don't be this repressive cold energy. Because Saturn in the fifth really don't go. The fifth is more Leo, fun, lovey expression. Saturn is a little bit more reserved and cold. So you want to find a blend between that of allowing the children to be successful, is how I see that one. And it also could be this could be your older, there's an older love figure in their life. Either you're more a little bit older than the person, or the person is older. It could have some type of fatherly figure or parental figure in love life. So you got to be not necessarily careful. Just keep your mind up that you may have you a young bull, as they say, a young lover, and you be more like the older person, or it could be vice versa with Saturn in the fifth. But it's pretty dope, and I think it's definitely dealing with a lot of success in your creativity too, because the fifth house is creative. You know what I mean? Saturn and Sag, 7 degrees. What house? In the sixth house, Venus cupcakes. Saturn in the sixth, hard worker. Definitely mind your health. Mind your health. Make sure that you are strengthening that skeletal system. Um, because of the sixth house just deals with health and whatnot. So skin and hair and bones is the key of making sure that you're taking care of yourself. You know what I mean? So if you can do some bone qigong, bone stuff that strengthen bones, marrow, and things like that, I would do that. But Saturn in the sixth house is a potential freaking workaholic, but very successful in getting things taken care of. I love that marker. I would love to work with that person any day of the week because they can get shit done. I say Saturn in Virgo is exalted. And they don't say that in traditional astrology, but I like that placement a whole hell of a lot. It's the bomb diggy when you got that. I like Saturn in the sixth. Saturn on the ascendant, but is it technically in the 12th or is it technically in the first? You know what I mean? But it's on your head. You know what I mean? That's a boss move. But again, I will also say the ascendant is how you start to project yourself out into the world. Saturn, to a degree, could restrict. So there may be some shyness. But Saturn really is the authoritative figure. So it just wants you, it's the part of our mind that have to study the information thoroughly so we can become the authoritative figure in this particular area of our life. Saturn is really the boss. Okay. Top of the chart, government. It's the father energy. It's for you to become, authority and whatnot. All right. 11th house, man. You should hang around older, successful friends. If your friends, yours truly, is not about success and they're not older than you, and it's just, the regular cultural barber shop talk, you're doing yourself a horrible disservice. Hang around older people that are way more successful than you, and they will automatically take a liking to you and start to give you the keys and networking and things to help you become successful in life. Saturn in the 11th by far is older groups of successful friends all day long. All right. Same thing too with you, Justin. Saturn in the 11th house. It's sextile Sun and Jupiter. So you're going to get blessings if you could find it. Saturn in the 11th is about the proper network, responsible friends, man, responsible groups of people. That's where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Now, Saturn conjunct Venus is kind of cold. I'm not a fan of that marker right there, but it most certainly can represent an older relationship. So again, because Venus is relationships, Saturn is a man. So somebody is, and Venus is a woman. Somebody could be significantly older. You know what I'm saying? When I was 17, I was with a woman who was 34. She was 17 years older than me. So she was like a year younger than my mom when I was 17. You know what I'm saying? So that's a Saturn-Venus combination. You know what I mean? So that can happen with that one. I also see that as a very responsible, mature relationship, very conservative. Saturn is conservative. Saturn is a Republican. Okay. I'm telling you, Saturn is a Republican. It's conservative, has great values, wants you to do it right. Everybody win. Everybody's going to be successful. It's not going to be no rush. It's not going to be sporadic. It's not going to be crazy shit. It's going to be organized and very structured. Okay. So if you can get Saturn, in this, with Saturn with Venus, it's about the long-term goal is what Saturn and Venus combinations are. It's about long-term goals because, again, remember, Saturn's energy is going to be this, typically has this repressive, slow, restrictive type of flow. And so since it's about long term and Venus is partnerships, business and or personal, then it needs to be having a long term plan. That's all. And whatnot. So I like that in the success model of, again, goal setting and whatnot. But this energy can feel cold. But you got to make sure that goals and the aspect of partnerships are the same thing, so that Saturn energy don't feel so cold and repressive and whatnot. You need me? Oh, you rocking this stuff? Getting used to them. Yeah, so Saturn on the ascendant 2 degrees Leo. The ascendant again is just self-expression. So don't be late to self-start and be responsible and master what you want to master. Fourth house Saturn, fourth house Saturn deals with a parent, a father figure. Sometimes it's mommy, but oftentimes I've seen it more as dad. That's you have to have a strong relationship or understand that relationship with the father energy. And then you will also have an older person in your lineage. That could be a grandmother, they could be deceased. They will like watch over you. People who got fourth house energy have this strong ancestral connection. In this case with Saturn, it's an older person. The fourth house is usually mommy. So this could be an old woman, but Saturn itself sometimes is usually a man. So it could be an older man. So it could be some type of strong, older family person that's a ancestor that would watch over you. No. 16 degrees what? I'm very interested in the house that it's in or aspect that it's making, right? Jay-Z 444 comes to mind because he is a Sag born on the 4th. Guess that means I needed to listen to a lot of Jay, huh? Right. All right. The structure. Okay. So Saturn conjunct Sun. Right. So Saturn conjunct Sun. I mean, that's the oxymoron. It's the bright light, then it's like, no, you don't. And then it's a dimming of a light, so to speak. You know what I mean? Vitality may not be as high as it could be. And so cardio would be good. It would definitely be good. I think you would have to ask yourself sometimes, how do you feel? Who is that, Marvin or King V? How do you feel energetically? That also could be a source of anemia. Do you have sickle cell anemia or any form of anemia? That's with Saturn conjunct Sun. I'm wondering if you have any form of anemia or any type of, really don't have no energy. You got sickle cell trait? See? Right. So that's a classic marker for that. You know what I mean? Right. So and that's because the Saturn Sun combination, these two conflicting energies. This is why Saturn has always been seen as a malefic force, because in combination with the Sun, it feels like it's not there. So what happens is with you, solar meditations predominantly in the morning with the rising sun and the setting sun, because the magnetic field is changing. And these are times where it's just not as dangerous in a sense. Solar meditations of being able to bring in light from the crown to the face, the pineal gland, and allowing light just to radiate your whole being and allow yourself to let it be a gold light. You should always constantly do gold light meditations and see that as your fuel and your source, because really what's happening, just see it this way: when you were born, Saturn was way behind the sun in this straight line of space. The light just wasn't shining as bright as it should have been at the time of your birth. So therefore, you just need to constantly do some of these solar meditations to recharge you and whatnot. It's just like a solar panel, man. That's all. So do some solar meditations, and when you feel the light touch you, that light is a golden light, and you're becoming a golden being, and that's how you start to boost your vitality, man. Okay. Saturn 7 degrees, first house, Sag. Learn, become the authoritative principle, and there's some type of self-learning that has to be done. For sure. So, because Sagittarius is like college, going back to school and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But again, the self house is just house of expression. Don't be late. Don't delay. Again, it's study long, study wrong. You know what I'm saying? Saturn and Sag could probably be somebody that could make a career out of going to school. As long as your lifestyle is not injuring you financially and you just love to learn. I mean, it's nothing wrong with learning, because we always gonna learn, right? Saturn and Scorpio in the 12th house, conjunct Mercury. All right, so Saturn and Scorp in the 12th house. That is definitely, don't be riding in the car with people who do drugs, Adrian Nicole, because the 12th house is drugs, and then the Saturn is government type of vibe. You also could potentially work in a hospital type of vibe, or you could be a CO. Let me find out, Adrian Nicole, you a CO. You wanted to be a CO, a correctional officer. You'd be like the sexy correctional officer that the inmates want to get at. But no, Saturn in the 12th house, on the highest scale for sure, represents the ability to consolidate, understand, integrate spirituality. That's, whatever you do for spirit, it's musical, psychic, all that good stuff. It's your ability to be able to do that. But be careful with Saturn in the 12th, because it could be older secret enemies. Scorpio, it could be related to a partner who you're sleeping with, or older jealous person about the relationship. So make sure that you're just seeing it for who they really are. I would never really indulge in illegal activity, because especially when it deals with drugs and alcohol and drunk driving and stuff, because that Saturn nature represents justice and government and whatnot. So you don't have the get out of jail free card type of thing. All right. Which also could potentially, depending on how some things is, you could be attracted to the dope boys of the world. Hello. I'm just messing with you though. But no, that's for real. You could be. What up, Rakim? What's happening, man? Saturn 17 Scorp. Yeah, so Saturn and Scorpio, man, is being very responsible in sexual relationships, very responsible with joint finances, investing, insurance policies. Saturn and Scorpio, or Saturn in the 8th house, you want, or a combination of it, you absolutely need to take care of the will. So the things where people are going to die and leave you money and things like that, you got to have that shit ironed out. That shit needs to be crystal freaking clear. Don't wait till a person die. I can't tell y'all in doing real estate on how many properties are going to the auction and there was no probate set up. Even calling some people and like, oh yeah, my granddaddy died, my grandma didn't take care of this, I think the mortgage is paid off, haven't seen, and people just are out of the freaking loop about the business. Scorpio in the 8th house is the business function of the family after the person dies. Okay. And so that kind of stuff needs to be taken care of when you have Saturn connected to the 8th house in Scorpio, because it can represent a delay. There's money coming to you, but you may not get it because Saturn's energy is a delay. But what is Saturn? Responsibility. Had you been responsible enough to get off your ass and make sure that your I's are dotted and you crossed your T's, you know what I'm saying? Then it'd be on and popping. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah. That's what that'd be. You know what I mean? So deal with that. Hold on, I got a message right here. One sec. YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. So yeah, so Saturn in the 4th, again, just going back to that ancestral thing. Saturn in the 4th could make way for a very responsible real estate person. The 4th house is real estate. You know what I'm saying? So Saturn could be, indication of success right up in here. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Venus opposition Saturn. Yeah. So Venus opposite Saturn could be, it's the challenge. That's the challenge of balancing the relationship and what I would call success. You know what I'm saying? The success factor, And so you got to be able to find that point of reconciliation of how to integrate goals and relationships. Goals will do it all. That's why some people like, man, they don't need readings and shit because they so crystal clear on their goal and what they do in their life. It's not that the reading won't benefit, because the reading can still tell you a future timeline where you can expect to see X, Y, Z. That's the dope part about it. But being in alignment is dope. You know what I mean? But the Saturn Venus opposition, I see as the biggest struggle is how can a relationship integrate the desired success? You know what I mean? So that's what that is. And also could be a relationship with father as well that needs to be mended. All right. Are you taking real estate classes? With Saturn in the 4th, see? Hey, let me know when you finish, man. I'm doing some wholesale, some flips. Just looked at a lending situation on some rentals. Be on their heels first thing Monday. So let me know when you get on and popping, so we can keep that network popping on this real estate for real. All right. First house. Yeah. So it's a first house. Yeah. Search yourself. Don't study long, study wrong, and whatnot. But just do it, man. First house is just do it and whatnot, and being responsible for self. That's a big key. Responsible for self. Because Saturn close to the ascendant means it's in opposition to your descendant, and the descendant is the area of life that deals with your relationships. So your relationships is in opposition to Saturn, and so you can't have meaningless relationships with no goals, man. It got to be something big. You know what I mean? It needs to be big, and it needs to really work at attaining it, because anything that don't, Saturn is dead across looking at it like I'm checking it every single time, that if it's not big and really worthwhile and goal orientated, I'm checking it. And so every 14-year cycle from the point that you were born, Saturn is over there to check it by conjunction. You know what I mean? So 14, and again at 28, and I'm sorry. It's more than that. It's not. Well, every 7 years for sure, square conjunction is over here, square again, then back over here by opposition. So Saturn is the one that's responsible for the 7-year itch. And we see this in, it's so popular, it's on Wikipedia now. Like like the 7-year itch in relationships. That's a Saturn cycle. It takes Saturn 7 years to square where it was. Another 7 years is in opposition to where it was. Another 7 years. At 21, it's squaring again. And at 28 to 30, it's back where it originally started. So Saturn is the one that is the circle 7. Okay. It's that fella right there. My view on Saturn conjunct Uranus is great because Uranus left unchecked could be crazy. Uranus is the Aquarian age. It's like I'm watching these presidential debates. Like Democrats are fucking crazy. Seriously, they're crazy. It's like it's no morals. It's just stupid. I'll be honest with you. It's Uranus left unchecked allows you to, when you first sign up to Facebook, so I'm hearing now, there's over 50 genders that you can choose from. Okay. Uranus says, I can call myself whatever gender I want to. Today I'm a man. Tomorrow I could be something that I made up. Don't classify me as a man just because I got a beard and a mustache and a deep voice that, that's offensive to me. And I'm going to sue you because you're disrespecting me and you're harassing me, and don't classify me as a man. That's Uranus. It's ridiculous. We're simply talking about the function. What we should be talking about is the function of your sexual reproductive capability. If you push a baby out, and I'm not saying you have to, and what you choose to do in your sexual life is your business. But for simple classification purposes, you're called female based upon your reproductive capability. You don't have to utilize that potential. But for classification purposes, you're female and you're male when you do this. So to say there's genders outside of that, that's that Uranus shit. Saturn is the age that we're going into next, Capricorn. Saturn conjuncts Uranus. Says, listen, stop bugging. Saturn again brings the conservative principles to the situation and puts order and structure on that craziness. Uranus is the rebel and is going to rebel. It's Jaden Smith. He's the perfect idea of what Uranus looks like. Okay. He's going to wear a dress. He's going to bleach his hair. He's just going to go all out. That's the Uranus thing. But Uranus only rebels into what? A new form of order is established. And I don't care if the misfits, as Jaden and them call themselves, or what we call, and it's not them because I actually love them. I don't care how weird it may seem. When your weirdness becomes the new order of the day, it's no longer weird because it's the norm and it's back to Saturn, which is order. So I'm a fan of Saturn conjunct Uranus because it allows you to have some very nice, well-needed balance, because without it, it's a good chance that person can go cuckoo. Okay. And this is the mythology. The mythology has already been written for the next 6,000 years. It starts with Uranus, right? It starts with Father Sky God Uranus, who is a Titan who wants to suppress his children and keep them in the womb of his wife Gaia, which is the earth, until one of the sons, they trick him, and one of the sons actually overthrow him in the battle, and that becomes Saturn. Saturn comes and he overthrows Uranus. Uranus is the Aquarian age. But they tell you that the Aquarian age anciently was ruled by Saturn. Now we find out it's Uranus and Saturn. So now when we go from the age of Aquarius, which is total chaos under Uranus because he's this dictator, some type of crazy ass rule that's taking place, then Saturn comes in, which is Kronos. So then Saturn comes in, and then he's doing the same thing though. Although he has order, but he's starting to suppress his, he's eating all of his children and keeping them in. He's not looking out for the next generation. He's too suppressive with his order. So then his son, which is Zeus, which is Sagittarius, which is the next age after Capricorn, overthrows him, and here comes this whole Olympian war type of thing that takes place. And that's literally 6,000 years of future experience that you and I are living up under the spell of an observation of some other cat 6,000 years ago. And some of us, 9 times out of 10, was there, that was writing that story, to be able to understand it now, and that we got to pretty much live through and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So I like Saturn and Uranus combination because it's a mythology about that. That's the clash of the Titans. Okay. Saturn and Venus in the 5th house in Scorpio. Saturn and Venus in the 5th house in Scorpio is, again, Saturn and Venus combinations can be cold. The Sun and Venus are the absolute best. Saturn and Venus got a different demeanor, but again, I think that demeanor should be about responsibility and the old long game, the end game, retirement. What does retirement look like? Venus is relationships. So what does retirement look like when we together? The 5th house is children. Like, what are we going to do with the children? The college fund type of stuff, or making sure that the children are successful. And the 5th house is your love life. You know what I'm saying? So I see Saturn and Venus more of in any combination, retirement. What are we doing 30 years from now? How are we living? What is it going to take to get there? And let's work our ass off to get there. That's what Saturn and Venus is. Yeah, so Saturn in the 5th house. That could be depending on the ruler and what's going on. The 5th house, he may not have a lot of children. That could be some type of delay with children. That's there. Potentially. Depends what else is going on. But Saturn in the 5th, I see that as slow, to a degree, slow to create, but successful when you do find that creative thing for you. Because again, Saturn is just consolidation and success. So you just want to work it in the realm of creativity and children. If you have children, you want to make sure that you don't come off as the repressive or oppressive authoritarian type where the kids feel like they can't do anything, in a sense. Try to figure out a way to find that balance to help the children become successful, because Saturn is success and then the 5th house is children. So let's make it about success and children versus no, in a sense. All right. Yeah, Saturn square Uranus. That's not too bad, because Saturn is fighting with Uranus to be logical and don't be crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good square. I like that square because again, Saturn is trying to stabilize that part of our consciousness that could just be a total fool. 4th house, though, again, real estate potentially, or an older person in the family is looking for something. You know what I'm saying? See, like Nadira said, Saturn and Venus in the 5th house. See, no kids, right? See, Saturn's energy is repressive. It's kind of like no. Or they will come when you get older in life. You see? Saturn in Virgo in the 12th. That's interesting. And so Saturn in Virgo, you could be working at some work for the government, some shape, form of capacity, work at a hospital, asylum, institutions, jails, drug, pharmaceutical. Saturn in Virgo in the 12th, I would say for sure you are to, you should help through the form. You should help elderly people who are in a hospice situation. nursing homes, helping elderly people as a form of donation, in a sense. If that's not your main line of work, I think some of the best charity you could do can go in that area. On the high side is your ability to be able to integrate spiritual psychic abilities. Saturn again wants to consolidate and put it to physical work. 12th house is mystical. So how do you consolidate that? See, Chula, right? You have no children either, right? So that Saturn in the 5th could be a delay in children. You know what I mean? Yep. Now, the best times, if y'all really want to try, the best time is when Mars is transiting the 5th house. When Mars in the sky is in the sign that's on your 5th house, that's the time you're likely to get pregnant. So if you don't want to get pregnant, then you need to be practicing some form of something. Okay. If you want to get pregnant, go for it. This is an excellent time. Mars in the 5th house, the sun even through the 5th, that time of year that is there, but predominantly Mars. Jupiter be there for a year. You can get super lucky. You can possibly have twins when that happens. And then when Jupiter is here, this is an excellent time to gamble. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I got pregnant when Saturn was in the 5th. Oh, that's interesting. That's an old parent coming back. You got pregnant with Saturn in the 5th. That was like your dad coming back, or an older person coming back to be with you again. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. You got it, Coley Cole. You got it. Yeah. What? Tom Money? Some people going, oh yeah, they're robot sexual, man. Listen. It's crazy out here, man. I'm telling you, it's these damn Democrats, man. I'm convinced. You want to talk about conspiracy? I believe in them again. Well, I be hearing the shit that be coming out their mouth and seeing, like, oh, y'all crazy. You know. Okay, right. So your dad passed when you were 4. That's why I said that's your dad coming back. You know what I'm saying? So that's that happens, man. That's why I said I got a course coming up in next month in September. We're gonna be dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? And absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome. My Aquarius sun, did someone say conspiracies? Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. The Democrats got me right now. I just be listening to some of this rhetoric. Like, are you serious? It's just, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. Yeah. So, any more placements before I switch gears and get back to work? Minister Jew just sent me a fire ass flyer, man. This joint is super clean. I'm gonna do a 28 days gratitude visualization joint. October the 6th through 11/3/19. Boy, we at the end of this. It's over. It's cold. It's cold outside. We already in October to November. I'm in September. He in October. That means I gotta put something in November. Means I gotta put something in November. Yep. Yes, let me know what you got. Saturn 7 Cap. What sign is? I mean, what house is it in? Raquel. Saturn conjunct Neptune is dope. Definitely the ability to get into the spiritual thing, understand it, walk it out. I like Saturn in good combinations to Neptune because now it's just not theory. You can be a physical manifestation of it. So I got a Saturn trine Neptune, so it's easy to explain the concepts of the mystical. So that's how I see Saturn conjunct Neptune. Saturn conjunct Neptune too. Like, don't really mess around with the dope game too tough, because again, one is drugs, Neptune, the other is government, Saturn. So it's easy to get caught up because it's a conjunction. So it's easy for those two. One thing triggers the other, you know. Yeah, Saturn and Cancer, I would look into the lineage of family. Again, it could be an older woman or an older man. In the third house is siblings, so it could be an older family member that could have passed. That's there that definitely rocks with you. But then also Saturn in the third wants you to be very responsible in your learning and your communications. Very responsible. That's the kind of marker where you could write press statements for the government. Okay, Mr. President, and that script that he's reading is something that you wrote. You know what I'm saying? So it's a highly responsible, articulate placement right there for Sanko for John. All right. You know what I mean? Right. The food, right? Yeah, you got it, K Unique all day. That's cool. All right, so 2:20, where we at, man? I'll try to ride with y'all to 2:30. 2:30. Keep me going 10 more minutes before I get off here and see what's happening. What's going on in the world? What y'all got for me? Take me to 2:30. Take me to 2:30. So what we got going on, man? Visit, man. We're gonna do this past life regression joint. It's gonna be crazy. You can get to it through the Imagination Guru site. Click on Quantum Soul Healing. You know what I mean? And so the Quantum Soul Healing is gonna be off the chain. This is where we get into that realm of past lives and whatnot. So every Wednesday for 4 weeks straight, we're gonna get together. We're gonna do this group 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Do this group call, and it's gonna be a guided visualization to help you get into the subconscious mind, and where you can just see for yourself what naturally comes up within you. You know what I mean? And again, if you're new to the information, I like to preface Dr. Brian Weiss' work. Miracles happen. Tons of case study where people saw the origin of their issue in this lifetime, whether it be a disease or whether it be a traumatic relationship, and they can tell that it was the same person or the origin of disease from that in the past life. And immediately, just by seeing it, it deletes it. It deletes the program. It's no longer, it's kind of like when you got a Windows computer and you hit Alt Control Delete, and then you go to the task manager, you can see all of the current programs that's running. You know what I mean? And so, but they're running in the background in a sense. So you can end those tasks. Seeing it allows you to end that task, and it deletes the disease. Like I've been saying, go to YouTube and type in Amy Weiss and Oprah. She was on Oprah and she told her story. You know what I'm saying? But check out Dr. Brian Weiss' works on this phenomenon. We got to get to the quantum soul level at some point in our development. And so this course is going to help us get inside of that. Awesome testimony on it from me helping a lady who was born with asthma all her life. Haven't had an asthma attack since 2013, since we did the session. Word is bond. All right. So check that out, man. That's over at the Imagination Guru Quantum Soul Healing Courses over there. I'm over at the Prosperity Investment Group. You know, get into the big checks, man. I gotta stay focused. Big checks. Real estate. I teach people how to, just sharing my experience, man, on what works for me. What works for me is, Letters works for me. Phone calls works for me. Showing you how to leveraging my software that you can get yourself. You can pay $100 a month for it, called PropStream, but I leverage my software to build the list that you want. You're looking for, like, my sweet spot is 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. That's the sweet spot, you know. 3 bedroom, 1 bath. I can look for vacant properties, but they at least got to have that criteria. And the owner had to have at least owned the property for 3 years. So that means that, you know, they just didn't buy it. So they've owned this property for 3 years. It's a good chance it's been in this vacant status for quite some time. Therefore, I'm going to send that person some mail. It makes no sense for me to mail a person or call a person who just bought a vacant property this year. They just bought it. So they probably don't want to, you know, they probably have some type of intention of fixing it or something. I may want to target what's called high equity. People who own a home almost free and clear, 90 to 100% paid off. So if it's not paid off, they're just right there. It's about to be paid off. And they had the property for at least 7 years. I may want to target people who have no equity and they've been in the property for at least 7 years. That means if they sell it today, the amount that it's worth today doesn't cover or just covers the amount that's owed on it, and they walk away with nothing, but they don't want to be in it. There's a special situation that we could do with that. Probably do a rent-to-own type of situation. Because think about it, they can't sell it, but there's some creative ways that we can get them out from under it, give you a lump sum of money as a down payment, keep the mortgage in your name. We'll make the actual payments every month and whatnot. And then on the 5th year, we give you a lump sum of money, and it could absolutely work. And your job will be to put a tenant in there. And if they was paying $700 a month for the mortgage, you're going to charge them $900 a month. So you get $200 a month in cash flow. You see what I'm saying? And it's just some ways that it's very creative ways where it can be a win-win situation where the average person went and touch a property that has no equity in it because it don't look like it's no deal. They owe too much. And there are ways. And so things like that is what I'm sharing. It's a lot of stuff that we do over here, but just go to theprosperityinvestmentgroup.com, theprosperityinvestmentgroup.com, and click on membership, and you will see. That's where I spend majority of my time, but I do want to give back and help out in this astrology stuff right here, man. So if you need me, hit me up. You know what I mean? Hit me up. And making sure it's like, yeah. I got the self-activation workbook. It's a download now. You can download it. And you know, it's strictly, it was written for the purpose of helping you classify where all your planets are at. So what houses got the most planets? What is the 8th house? What is Mars? What house is this in? Write the description of what that means and whatnot. So it's you activating yourself by learning your own chart. That's at myastrologycoach.com, shop tab, books, self-activation workbook. It's a download, grab it. It's an excellent piece of work. We had that for years, like since 2012, easy 2012. You know what I mean? But an excellent tool to help you get started to self-activate. That's why we named it that. All right. So let me get out of here, man. Appreciate y'all. I don't know. I may come on tomorrow. No, I'm going to church tomorrow, man. I found me a church that I'm going to start going to on Sunday, just to vibe with the church folks, you know? But keep your notifications on, man. Appreciate you. Y'all need me, feel free. Hit me up on mine. All right. Peace.